All right, and good morning, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles with your host, Oliver Blue. I am so delighted to be here. Hope you are. What a beautiful spring day. Um, what a great time of the year for me, at least. I hope it is for you. I love the spring. I love the Easter season. I love um, what nature does this time of the year. I love the history of this time of the year. Um, I'm a golfer, so I love the fact that the Masters starts actually today. And so I just like this time of year because it reminds me that life is always providing us with another opportunity to participate in its ever increasing, abundant expression of its nature. Life is always in the mode of extension, always giving, always sharing, always expanding. It's never ending. That is what life is, and that is what we are a part of. And that is a part of our essential nature. That is the essence of who we are. Life is that force, life is that radiant aliveness that animates all living things, including you and me. And so it is not like there's 8 billion lives, or, but there's only one life that we all live. There was a soap opera many years ago that I think the name of it, if I can remember it right, was One Life to Live. And that is so true. There's only one life that we all live. We 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 are all dynamic, unique expressions of that one life, but we all are fueled and sourced from the one life that we call God, or we call love, or we call here reality. Doesn't matter what you call it, it doesn't change it. And so this morning, I am so delighted that we are here expressing life in such a unique way. We are on this journey. We're on this path whereby we are deliberately discovering, rediscovering the one self that we all share. We are deliberately spending time inquiring into the deeper things of life, like knowing who we are, like understanding this marvelous mind that we have and how it works, and like discovering how to cultivate this life in such a way that we are in alignment, in harmony, and in synchronicity with the purposes of life. Discovering that our life indeed has deep meaning and good purpose. And so this morning, we're going to be looking at another workbook lesson out of the Course in Miracles in the Workbook for Students section of the course. I love the course. I love other spiritual documents. I love the Bible. I love other spiritual writings. I love other spiritual teachers. There is so much out here now. There is so much that has been released to us to help us in the form of light, in the form of expanded awareness, to help all humanity to wake up to its true identity. And it is everywhere. It's in abundance. And if you are resonating with the voice that speaks for God, that is coming from within your very being. And if you're saying yes to your expansion, you're saying yes to your awakening, to your enlightenment, to your salvation, then not only that which has been made available to you is known by you, but that which is specifically planned for your evolution will keep being attracted in your life. It will keep being revealed to you in the form of people, in the form of information, in the form of relationships, in the form that is easily recognizable by you. That one guide, that one teacher that is within you. Remember, I'm on a temporary guide or temporary teacher, and I'm pointing you within, because within all of us is that Holy Spirit, as one may call it, or that whole spirit, or all that there is, all the infinite intelligence that exists. It resides in your nature. It resides in you. And so today's idea, as we continue to move in this section of the workbook lesson that we started a few days ago on what is the last judgment. This is what we are still unpacking, this idea of the last judgment. What is it from A Course in Miracles perspective? If you've had any relationship with any type of spiritual path or religion, I'm sure there's an idea, or there's some idea or belief you hold about, or opinion you hold about what is this last judgment, which refers to in Christian terms, it refers to the second coming of the Messiah. And so the second coming and the last coming can really be lumped together as one happening, as it is taught by the Christian community. However, the Course in Miracles, as you know, has this uncanny way of expanding our awareness, taking us from the elementary understanding, which in many cases are based on separation, to bring us an understanding that's based on oneness, the oneness that we share. And it's always seemed to be making correction to that which promotes fear, and advocating for love only. In fact, the Course says that its mission is to teach only love, because that is not only who we are, but that is who God is, and therefore love is consistent. Love is not fickle. Love has no opposites. So what is the nature of love? Is there any fear in love? Well, even the scripture says that there is no fear in love, that love has torment, and that we should allow love to have its perfect work. So we have no association with fear. So if this idea of a second coming or a last judgment is a constitute an idea of fear, then we have to question the story as it is written. We have to question the story as it is written. Does it promote love in life, or does it promote fear? And we know that there's no fear in God, that God is only light, and in God there is no darkness. So there's a controversy there. And the Course comes here and it clears up the controversy by saying that the last judgment is not only the last judgment, but there is a final judgment that supersedes the last judgment. And the Course says that this final judgment is not something in the future, but this final judgment was something that was a part of our creation. And that final judgment cannot be altered or changed. So therefore, we remain as we were created. We remain as God created us. And then it goes on to say that the final judgment is as merciful as every step in God's appointed plan to bless his creation. So here we understand that God's intention is only to bless what he created. And what God created is the one thing, which is himself. And he called himself I am. And that I am is our creation. This is who we are. We are God's prized creation. We are God's highest creation. Humanity is. And in this creation, there was no form, there was no time, there was no space, there was no matter, there was nothing physical. So who we are is not matter or physical or subject to time or space. Who we are is the very essence of who God is. And God is infinite, meaning there is no beginning and no end. God is eternal. God is truth. God is knowledge. God is real. God is one law. God is unalterable. God doesn't have multiple choices. God is unambiguous. God is beyond learning. It's beyond time and space. God has no opposite. That which God creates has no beginning, no end. It merely is. So who we are has never been altered. Who you are in truth has never been changed. So we just need to discover what God created. And you don't ask the thing. You never ask the thing its purpose. You never ask the thing what it created. But you go to the mind of the maker of the thing who knows its intent and its purpose. And so when we look into the mind of God or the mind of Christ, all we see is love. All we see is this love that changes not. All we come to see and understand is the nature of this God is light. And so it's full of mercy. And it only has an intention is to bless that which it created. God can only bless. Love can only bless. Reality can only bless. All these other ideas that we made up about a loving God that destroys, that get angry, that goes through all these emotional spats because of what appears to be a creation gone awry. It's not so. It's how we react to things. It's how our love is so conditional. It is how we hold on to grievances. And so, in other words, we attempted to create God in our own image, in our own likeness. After we let go of our reality and created a unreality of our own. And so we recreated God in as a love, and not as a loving God, but we recreated God as this God who has anger management problems. And so it seeks to what? Punish and bring pain and hurt. It seems to use pressure and threats and fear and guilt to get what it made to operate and obey. as they say. Well, that's not the God of love. That's not the God of creation. That is the God that we made up in our minds and superimpose our fears and our guilt and our sin consciousness upon a loving God. But it doesn't work. It didn't change anything. God is still who he is. Heaven is still intact. So it's not God that has an issue. It's us who has lost our way. It's us who have tried to substitute our nature for another nature. And so we even wrote books about it, about this angry God. Said it's the truth. And we passed this information down throughout generations that has its foundation in separation, sin, guilt, and fear. But all of that is being corrected. All of that is being corrected. And Jesus of Nazareth was the first man, Son of Man, as well as Son of God. It's like you are a son or daughter of humanity, but you're also a creation of God. And so Jesus was the first one that used his life to be a correction to the error that we had made. And now all subsequent lives are being called to acts to use your life for the same purpose, to be the light of the world. And so God's final judgment is as merciful as every step as God appointed to plan to bless his creation and call his creation to return to the eternal peace he shares with him. Be not afraid of love, for love is what we are. So he said, be not afraid of this. For it alone can heal all sorrows, wipe away all tears, and gently awaken us from this dream of pain. That God has acknowledged as his. God has always acknowledged us as his very own. So be not afraid of this. Be not afraid of love. Be not afraid that God is your Father and that God is only interested in you experiencing the blessings that was given to you in time past. Paul said it in Ephesians 1, that God has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenlies. Well, how do you get curses and fear and doubt and unbelief from blessings? Something must have gone wrong within the thinking of humanity. And exactly that's what happened. We entertained a tiny mad idea of separation and fell into a dreamlike state or a trance and began to hallucinate of being these separate beings that are hiding away from this angry God and created all kinds of stories about this angry God. And so, be not afraid of this. Salvation acts you give it welcome. And the world awaits your glad acceptance, which will set the world free. This is God's final judgment. And we've shared this on several occasions. If you have ever been doubtful or not sure of your true identity of who you are in reality, it says it beautifully here. And it not only says it, but it says this is the final judgment. This is the final conclusion of all of life. So in other words, in this moment right here, we can finally know who we are. It describes it beautifully here. It says, you or we are still God's holy creation. We're still the thing that God created. Holy, meaning what? No blemish, without spot or wrinkle, perfect, complete, whole, needing nothing, because it has been given everything. This is what God created in the beginning as the one creation of God, out of which the many expressions of this one creation have shown up in body form. But the body form does not take away from the essence of who we are and the oneness that we share. It's just a temporary experience. We got caught up in the temporary experience. We got caught up in the dream. We got caught up in the idea that separation is possible and that we actually pulled it off. And when we haven't done nothing, but have thousands and thousands of years of what? Nightmares, dreaming about separation, dreaming about we're separate, dreaming about a God that's, that we upset. But here it says, this is the final conclusion, that we are still the holy creation of God. We are forever innocent. We are forever loving and forever loved. We are as limitless as our Creator and completely changeless and forever pure. Have you ever thought of yourself that way? Has it ever crossed your mind? And listen, it has crossed your mind. But what has been conditioned in our minds, what have been put in our minds, is an idea of separation, and that we don't match up. We have fallen from grace. We've heard all the stories. We're sinners saved by grace. That doesn't make you think rightly. That doesn't make you think, like the one that created you. No, that promotes sin, consciousness, guilt, and fear. So something's wrong with that approach. Something wrong with that idea. It's not a God idea. It's the best that man could do in fear. But thank God it's not a reality. It's not your reality. It's an illusion. It's a man-made idea. It's a false idea appearing as real. There is no evidence that God ever separated from you. There's no evidence that God ever rejected you. There's no evidence that God can change from being the nature of love that it is. There's no evidence. The only evidence there is our vain imaginings. The only evidence that there really is our hallucinations. Like Adam said, I was afraid. I hid. Where did that come from? It did not come from God. It came from entertaining an idea that God was not loving, that God was withholding something from his creation, that God did not give humanity everything. God did not give, not necessarily humanity, but that God did not give his creation everything when he created, that what God created had a different nature than he is. And what God creates cannot have a different nature. Why? Because every seed produces after its own kind. Every idea remains with its source. Ideas cannot leave their source. That's why when human beings come together to procreate, they don't create other forms of life. They create what? The same form. Likewise, that's a metaphor. That's an example. that God is a seed, God's an idea, and God can only create after his own likeness, in his own image, according to his own purpose. And that is unalterable. Therefore, in reality, we remain as God created us. And how did God create us? As holy creations, forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved. As limitless as your creator, or as our creator, and completely changeless and forever pure. You and I, and all God's creation, is put forever pure. We only see the defile because there has been an idea of separation that we embraced. And it changed our point of view. It didn't change God's point of view. It changed our point of view. And we began to see from a place of fear, from a place of sin consciousness and guilt. And you cannot see purity from a mind that has given its allegiance over to sin consciousness, guilt, and fears. That's why Paul said the mind must be renewed in righteousness. That's why Paul said, don't be conformed to the thinking of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. That means that the mind was new and pure and whole and innocent at one point. What happened? What happened? It had nothing to do with God. It had everything to do with our wondering if this could be real. Could we be the very offsprings of God? Could we be the very nature of God? Could we be the very gods that God is? That is what was rejected. That is what we have denied. We have denied our own self. We're afraid of our own self. We're afraid of love. That's what happened. And then that idea was passed down from generation to generation. And now here it is, 2023. And you cannot correct the error without going back to the space where the error was made. And the error was made in the mind. Not in individual mind, but the one mind that we all share. That's why when you make the correction in yourself, you make the correction in everyone. That's why when you awaken, everyone awakens. That's why when you are enlightened, everyone is enlightened. Why? Because you realize there's only one of us, and I am it. Jesus realized that. That's why he didn't pout. That's why he didn't get all upset. That's why he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's why he knew that he had completed his assignment. That's why he knew he was the savior of the world. Didn't have to do with anyone but his decision. And that has not changed. What decision are you making about yourself? Who are you, Adam? Who are you? Who do you say that you are? Do you say that you are the Christ, the creation of God? Do you say that you are holy and without blame before God in love? Do you say that you were created in the image and imagination of God, in the idea of God, and ideas leap not their source? Do you say that you are one with God? Do you say that when you see me, you have seen my Father? Or are we still doubting our identity, doubting our divinity, doubting our innocence and our holiness, doubting our loveliness, doubting our infinite nature, doubting the fact that there is no limitations, doubting the fact that we're unalterable and that we're changeless and that we're forever pure? Well, today we can lay all doubts aside. Because here it's telling us this is who we are. Therefore, awaken and return to me. It's what the Father call is. The Father said, awaken and return to me. And he has called all of us to take a part and a role in this grand awakening. And to acknowledge that God is our Father. He's the Father of us all. And he's also invited us to acknowledge that we are one, that we are God's creation, and that all of us are one. All of us are equal, and all of us are blessed. And so this is the great final judgment. That is not something in the future, but this happened in creation. God has said, this is who you are. You can't change it. You are a fixed creation of God. And if you want to experience anything else, you're going to have to what? You're going to have to fall asleep and dream of being something else, because there's only one reality. And this reality is that you are me and I am you, and it cannot be altered. So you can create 1,000 worlds, or you can make 1,000 worlds and try to create all the evidence that I'm unloving. Try to create all the evidence that I get angry and I get mad. Create all the evidence. You can write all the books about it. He said, but it's not going to change the truth that is true always. You remain as I created you. I am love, and all that is born of love, as John said in his writing. See, there's certain resources that you have to learn how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Otherwise, you'll be eating all bones. Or a mixture of bones and meat. The Course in Miracles is saying that what? We're only serving up meat. It's called a fillet. Do you like fillet? And so that's the final judgment that the Course talks about. That's unalterable. And so we're all in the same boat in reality. We're all in the love boat. There is no judgment to look forward to. There is no second coming. We come to understand the second coming is no more than when you wake up and remember who you are. That's your second coming. Because you realize that the first hasn't gone anywhere. What God created originally, it still remains. And what you wake up to is that which was original, not a second or a third. God doesn't have a second or a third. God doesn't have a backup plan. God is one. And therefore, what he creates is one. So today's idea in Workbook Lesson 317 is this: that I follow in the way appointed me. This is our declaration for today. That I follow in the way that's already been appointed. There is an appointment that we cannot not meet. There is an appointment. God has appointed all of us. And he has appointed all of us to the same appointment. And that is the knowing of yourself. That's the big appointment. That's the grand appointment that we all have, because God guarantees that all of us will meet that appointment. We will eventually come to know our real self. God has not appointed us to death. God has not appointed us to separation or sickness or lack or fear. God has not appointed us to the limitations of a world of perception. God has not appointed us to flux and flow, to come and go. God has not appointed us to ups and downs. God has not appointed us to scarcity, loss, or death. God has not appointed us to instability, to a smorgasbord of choices. God has not appointed us to inaccurate interpretation. But there is an appointment for all of us. All of us have the same appointment, and that is the awakening to your true identity. And so we follow the way that we have been appointed, or we make the appointment. And God has appointed us to glory. God has appointed us to eternity. God has appointed us to life more abundantly. So where are these ideas that a loving God has appointed anyone or anything to any other thing other than love? It cannot be the truth. It does not make even a natural sense, let alone spiritual sense. How can love have any association with sickness or disease or death or lack or fear or guilt or limits? It's impossible. We are the one that tried to make God an unloving father, and it has failed. God is not an unloving father. God is not unrighteous. God is love only. We are the one that's tried to prove that we are deserving of punishment. We're the one that have tried to prove that we're not what God created, that we are inferior. We're the one that has tried to prove that. And our attempt to prove it has not moved a needle, not one iota. We remain as God created us. That is good news. Even in our foolishness, we remain as God created us. Even in our misunderstanding, we remain as God created us. Even in our ignorance, we remain as God created us. Even in our religious creations, we remain as God created us. Even in our doctrines, we remain as God created us. Even in our cultures, we remain as God created us. In all of our foolishness, we remain as God created us. God did not create bodies. God did not create separated minds. We did that. But none of that changes the final judgment, which was the first judgment and the last, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I'm the Lord thy God. I change not. What I make, it remains as I made it. And you remain innocent and holy and lovable and loving and loved. That's why he said, you are my beloved. And pure. And when you wake up to your purity, Jesus said it this way. He said, the pure in heart shall see God in everything. And so this path, this way have been established. That's what Jesus meant when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He was not talking about his personal self. What he was talking about is what he represented. This holiness, this oneness, this loving creation of God, which included all of us. It didn't exclude none of us, because to exclude one of us is to exclude all of us, because there's only the one. It would exclude God. For God to reject his creation would be for God to reject himself. And that's impossible. And so we're this fixed creation, and we can't get out of it. No matter how deep we go in our dreams, no matter how insane we think, no matter how much we hallucinate, no matter how wild our vain imaginings, no matter how to what length we go to make ourselves what unfit or unworthy, it does not work. The prodigal son tried it. It did not work. And all of us have gone prodigal, but it will not work. You are in a fixed system. Your dreams of being unworthy, your dreams of being what the world called you, your dreams of not measuring up, your dream of being weak and frail and guilty and sin, all of that we made up, it doesn't change anything. You remain as God created you. And so this is the way, this is the appointment that we all have been given an appointment to. You decide when to meet that appointment. You cannot avoid the appointment. And so I have a special place to feel. All of us, we have a special place to feel. Why? Because it's the only one place that we can feel, because it's the only one place that God created for all of us. We have a role that is ours alone, not as individual selves, but as the one self, the one creation of God. Salvation waits until we take this part as what we choose to do. We have to choose for our creation. Choose you this day who or what you will serve. Will you serve the illusion of separation, or will you serve the reality of your oneness? Jesus said you cannot what? Serve two masters. Can't have two, because you love one and hate the other. But in reality, there is no multiple choices. There's only one choice, because again, this is fixed. What we are part of is a fixed creation, and thank God it is. Thank God we cannot undo what a loving Father did. We cannot undo what a perfect God did. And so this is our salvation that awaits us. It awaits our choice. It says, until we make this choice, meaning we're going to make the choice. But until you make this choice, he says, until we make this choice, we are no more than slaves to time and the human destiny. And you know what time does, and you know what the human destiny does. It will seek to convince you that you are something that you're not. And so it becomes this nightmarish of an experience that we have on earth. It's like hell on earth, right? Because what? We are refusing to embrace our reality. And we're taking this option that's really not an option. It's not even real. It's only temporary. And it's only a projection of what's in our minds. But when our minds are renewed, when our minds are transformed, then we are in alignment and in harmony and integrity with what God created. And we see only what God created. That is what we all desire. But when we willingly, notice now, but when we willingly and when we gladly go the way of our Father's plan, that has appointed us to go. In other words, until we align with the purposes of God, we are slave to time and human destiny, what humanity made up as their destiny. But when we let go and willingly and gladly embrace the way the Father has planned our appointment, then will we recognize salvation. See, salvation is but a recognition. Enlightenment is but a recognition. Awakening is but a recognition. To be born again is but a recognition. All of any of these ideas of man waking up to his own reality, it doesn't matter what you call it. All different religions, all different paths have different names, and they're very limited. They don't even come close to adequately describing the process of transformation. But at the end of the day, what happens in all humanity, among all cultures, it doesn't matter, in all nations, is that all of us will eventually come face to face with our true self, come face to face, that as God is, so are we in this world right now. And that there is no judgment to come. That the only judgment that ever occurred, it occurred in eternity past when God said, you and I are very good. When God extended itself in the creation process and said, it is very good. This is very good. I'm very good. God got outside of itself and saw itself for the first time and said, what? It is very good. And so we remain that way in our right minds. But when the mind goes prodigal, it only sees defilement. And thus you have a world that was built on that. But even that world is being corrected. And we are all a part of that correction process. We are all a part of that appointment. We are all a part of God's plan for salvation. Because we come to understand that when one of us awaken to this reality, all of us awakens. When you forgive the world, the whole world goes free. It may not appear like that on the stage of the world, but in reality for you, that is the reality for the world. Thus, you walk what? You walk in love. You walk in forgiveness. Holding nothing. Judging nothing. But understanding. But there's only one final judgment. And that final judgment is the fact that all of us was created by God in holiness and in innocence and in love and in purity. And we can't change that. We cannot change that. And so, when we willingly and glad, notice now, it is your will. God allows you to make the decision when to come home. God allows you to make the decision when to return. And he allows you, he only wants you to do it in gladness, gladly, not by coercion, not by fear, not by a threat of throwing you into a gas chamber, or, you know, how we wrote the story, not by some fearful idea that we have done something so bad that we're not redeemable. That is a man-made idea. But gladly and willingly, the Father awaits for the return of the Son, just like this prodigal son story. The Father didn't go looking for the Son out in the world. He knew what? That was an illusion. He was dreaming. It's like when you walk in your children's room at night just to check on them, and you know that they're having a bad dream by the by their expression. To them, the dream is real. To them, the tiger and the lion and the bear is real. Oh my. But you know something differently. You know that they remain in the very safety of your home, in the safety of their own bed, being fully provided for, fully protected. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't broke any rules. They haven't destroyed their relationship. But they're having a nightmare. Likewise, we have a nightmare until we embrace the reality, until we come home, until we accept our innocence and our wholeness, our holiness, our loveliness. And so it's a willing, it's a glad acceptance on our part. God wouldn't have it any other way. God is a God of love. God does not use fear to bring you home. That's what religions do. We don't do that. God doesn't do that. God doesn't use fear for nothing. There is no fear in God. And that's why the Course in Miracles has to make the correction about this last judgment and the second coming, because it is a fear doctrine. And it has had the world in fear for thousands of years, waiting on some future judgment where we're going to be divided in half, one to the left and one to the right. That's all a part of the dream of separation. God knows nothing of that story. But when we willingly and gladly go the way that our Father's plan appointed us to go, this is the plan of God. This is God's plan for salvation, not the plan that we made up. But this is God's plan for salvation. Then will we recognize salvation is already here. You're already saved. You're already what you thought you lost. You're already what you think you want to be. You are that now. You've never changed. It is the grand awakening, which is the recognition that it is already so right now. You are already holy. You are already righteous. You are already beloved. You are already sinless and guiltless. You're already pure. You're already without spot or wrinkle. You're already perfect. That means that you need no modifications or improvement. The real you that loves you. This is who you are. And so the identity crisis is over. The thought of a final judgment or a last judgment or a second return is over. Heaven is here now. In fact, heaven and earth has become one. In fact, all things have become one. In fact, Paul said it, that God has reconciled everything into the one thing, and he called it Christ. And that is who you are. You are the Christ. And so is all humanity. I told y'all I might do an Easter message. It's time for us to get this thing correct, man. And take all of this fear that we have placed in between us and our reality. We placed it there. And even when we placed it there, Jesus said, what? I forgive that illusion, for they don't know it's an illusion. It's already given to all our brothers already mine as well. So no one is excluded. Love has what? Forgotten no one. Love has altered no one. Love has changed no one. And no one's life journey has changed or altered love. It's either been what? A happy dream, or it's been a nightmare. Your life has either been a nightmare or a happy dream, depending on what? Depending on your acceptance or rejection of your true identity. And so, in conclusion, we follow the way appointed to us. you know, the course says it over here in the final chapter, over in the final chapter of the text. I like the final chapter. It's called Choose Once Again. The choice is yours. He say choose once again. Temptation has one lesson that it would teach in all its forms. In other words, when we think that we're tempted, that we're something that we're not, it says temptation only has one lesson. Humanity was tempted in eternity past to believe that God has withheld something from him. And it's depicted in so many stories. Adam and Eve thought God had left out something. And so they entertained an idea that they didn't have something. If you eat this, you will be like God. Well, listen, the truth was they was already like God. God had already made them in his image and his likeness. God had already poured his fullness into that. But they entertained what? A tiny man idea. Did God lie? Did God withhold something? Let me go over here to see if the grass is greener. And then we get over there and what? It's artificial turf. It's not even real grass. So temptation has one lesson that it would teach. And I'm on page 666. Now don't draw anything into that. But I'm on page 666 in the final chapter called The Final Vision. And it's under the section that says, it's section 13, choose once again. Temptation has because we all chose wrongly. So that's why we have to choose again. It says temptation has one lesson that it would teach all of us in all of its forms. Doesn't matter the form or wherever it occurs. This is what temptation comes to do. It comes to persuade you, who are the holy creation of God, that you are a body. Meaning you got a beginning and an end. It will come to persuade you that you were born in what must die. Temptation comes to persuade you that you are unable to escape the frailty of the body. That so goes the body, so goes you. This is what temptation comes to do. To hoodwink you. And to hoodwink me, all of us. It says, and it comes to persuade you that we are bound by what it orders us to feel. And that it sets the limits on what we can do, that the body does. That the power that's in the body, which we know is very limited. It says that its power is the only strength that we have. It's what the body can produce. And it also comes to persuade us that the body's grasp cannot exceed its tiny reach. That we're only subject to what the body is and what the body is capable of. In other words, it comes to persuade us that we are these bodies. This is what temptation comes to do, because this is what we have chosen. We have chosen a false identity. And in that false identity, we can see that the body is limited, that the body is frail, that the body is uh the body is has a beginning and an end. We see that the body is weak and needy, and it wears down. It loses its vitality. We know that about the body. So when we have taken our eternal identity as bodiless and formless and substituted that for a body that is weak and frail and limited with a beginning and an end, how depressed could one be? That's understandable. But thank God that is not the truth. That is what the temptation has come to rob us of our reality. And it cannot do it. It can rob you of your experience as a human, but it cannot take the essence of your eternal self. It says, would this be, or would we be this, what the temptation has described here? Would we actually be this if Christ, if what God created appeared to us in all of its glory? Would we even be tempted by this option that's not really an option? Would we be tempted by the appearances if Christ appeared to us in his full glory? Asking us this. In reality, Christ has appeared to us in his full glory. When anytime you look on another human being, that is Christ. Anytime you look upon yourself, that is Christ. But it is veiled to you and me and everyone if we do not embrace and accept the reality of our holiness. If we're not tempted to look for outside of ourselves for something, when all that we possess is everything. There's nothing outside of you. There's nothing outside of what God created. God created you and created you in everything and in every way, leaving nothing missing and nothing broken. You are complete. Paul picked it up this way. He said that we are complete in him. We are complete in God. So if Christ appeared in all of his glory, asking us this, choose once again if you would take your place among the saviors of the world, or would you remain in hell and hold your brothers there? What is your choice? Because Christ has appeared and Christ has come, and Christ is asking us this. Adam, where are you? Eve, where are you? Do you see yourself in your full glory? Do you see yourself in your full innocence? Do you see yourself in your full purity, your wholeness, your belovedness? What self-image are you holding about yourself? Let go of the conditionings of this world. Be not conformed to what the world has tried to make of you, but be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. That's what he means. He said he has come. He said, and now that he's come and you have embraced the reality of your oneness, you have embraced the reality that you are the Christ and that all humanity is the Christ. He said, I'm giving you an appointment and an assignment. He said, do not deny And this is on page 667, paragraph 7. Deny me not the little gift that I ask. God now is asking something from us. Now that you have awakened, God is asking something of you. He didn't just wake you up just to be awake, but he woke you up with a purpose. He says, so do not deny this little gift. He said, when in exchange, I lay before your feet the peace of God and the power to bring this peace. This is our appointment. This is our assignment. And that is the power to bring this peace, which is the awakening, the enlightenment, the salvation, the new birth, to bring this to the awareness of everyone who wanders in the world, uncertain, lonely, and in constant fear. That's our state of being when we are still asleep to our reality. We are wandering in this world of duality. We are wandering in this world of perception. And we are wandering in uncertainty. We're not certain about who we are. We're not certain about anything. We wander in this world lonely. We feel this sense of separation from each other and from our Creator. And this only happens in dreams. And we also wander in this world in constant fear. Fear of what? Fear of the final judgment. Fear of death. Fear of lack. Fear of sickness. Fear of disease. Fear of poverty. Fear of humanity. When we don't walk in the awareness that we are the Christ. The only other option to that is to wandering in the world aimlessly, in uncertainty, lonely, and in constant fear, trying to find peace in the things of this world. And there is no peace in the things of this world. That's only form. It's lifeless. You are the one that gives life to it. You are the one that animates it. You are the one that determines the value of everything in this world. We're not to lose our way and make idols out of everything. That we are the God of this world. We don't allow form to become our gods, but we are the God. Everything here is for us. It's here because of you. It knows who you are. Every tree, every animal, every rock, every grain of sand, the sun, the moon, the stars, all of the elements know who you are. Even the Bible says that the trees of the field clap their hand and they bow down before you. Why? Because you are the Creator. You are the highest form of creation. It's like we gave it up for a morsel of bread. But now it's time to return and take your true identity back. To take yourself, to like it said here, to take your place among the saviors of the world. This is what you've been appointed to. For it is given you to join with us. It's given to you to join with God. It is given to you to join with God through the Christ in you, unveiled in not only your eyes, but the eyes of your brother. That's why when you look in the eyes of another human being, you know that they retain the very nature that you are. You know humanity is one. You can't look into the eye of an ant and see your likeness or your image. You can't look into the eye of a rock or a tree or a fish. No, when you look into the face of another human being, You have come face to face with yourself. You have come face to face with your oneness. So how can we think of them any other way than we think of ourselves? That's why when we think bad of other people, it's because we're thinking bad of ourselves. And it needs to be corrected. And it can be, and it is correctable, but only through the knowledge of the truth. And that's why Truly Foundation is here, to let you know who is the real you. That is love. And we ain't going nowhere, because what? We have accepted our assignment, our appointment. And I'm glad about it. And so he says, through the eyes, or through the Christ in you, unveiled his eyes, and let him look upon the Christ in him. So we become what? Face to face with Christ. The Course said Jesus saw the face of Christ in all humanity and remembered God. That's what happens to us. When we say namaste, we're saying that we acknowledge the divine in you, and you acknowledge the divine in me. We are one. And so in conclusion, I got to close this down, because I can go on and on and on and on and on about this. The identity crisis is over the moment you say yes, the moment you say yes to your appointment. It's all over. And so, Father, your way, your plan, your purpose is what we choose today. It's a matter of choice. Where it would lead us, do we choose to go? Total trust, total certainty, total assurance. What it would have us to do, we choose to do. Your way is certain. See, we're no longer wandering, uncertain, but God's way is certain. Your innocence, your wholeness, your loveliness is a certain thing. It is absolutely certain. It is etched in stone. It is etched in God. You are forever pure. You are forever whole. You are forever complete. You are forever one. And it's etched in stone. Your way is certain, and the end is secure. There is no last judgment. There is no great divide. There is no separation. There is no specialness where some special group going to get to run off into the heavenlies and the rest gets to be tortured forever. Where did that idea come from? The pit of hell. That's where it came from. And we bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And so we live our life of fear, dreading the end. That's no way to live. That's no life. That's not a living, loving God. And it's not. That's our own foolishness. But that foolishness has been corrected today. I believe some people are going to have a different Easter this time. They're going to have a different perspective on this resurrection. That they realize that the true resurrection is their awakening, that the true resurrection is their enlightenment, that the true resurrection is their acceptance of their true identity as one with God and one with all humanity and all living things. So the memory of our Father awakes us, and all our sorrows ends in our Father's embrace, which our Father has promised to all of his creation, to all humanity, that God will eventually embrace all of us as we have laid down the dream of separation and realize that it was already there, that it was already a reality. And so, who thought mistakenly? We thought mistakenly. We thought in error. It says, who thought mistakenly that we had wandered from the sure protection of a loving Father's arm. We thought we really did go on this long journey. We thought we really did separate from God. We thought we made it. We thought we successfully did it. While all along, we ain't done nothing but dreamed an insane dream. And so we follow the way appointed to us. What other way can we follow? What other way there is? There is no other way. And the dream is coming to an end. That means everyone is eventually choosing or will choose for their reality. It's guaranteed by God. He swore by himself when he could find nothing greater than himself to say, surely that which I created remains. Surely that which I blessed is blessed. And so it is. Thank you so much for being here with me on this beautiful, gorgeous spring day. We are just a few days away from what people call Easter. Well, listen, I'm here to declare that all of life is Easter. Easter is just a reference or a recognition of what God created, which is life. That's all there is. And if we are experiencing that because we're rejecting our divinity, we're rejecting our innocence, we're rejecting the fact that we are holy just as God. God's no more holy than you are. That we are pure just like God. God's no more pure than you are. And God wants us to take these idols down. Where there's equality, there are no idols. God wants you to know that you have equality with him. God wants you to know that you have equality with the one man, Jesus of Nazareth, who walked the earth in his equality. He wants you to walk the earth now in your equality with God. Even take Jesus down from being an idol and saying he's the only one. No, Jesus is your brother. He was a man just like you, who thought it not robbery to be equal with God. He said, let this mind be in you that was also in me. So don't use me as an idol to keep you from experiencing your true self. I was just proving to you guys that death is not real. I was just proving to you guys that what God created, there's no devil or no outside forces, because there are no outside forces. There are no enemies. There are no judgments. There is no sin. I was just proving to you that all that was an illusion. All that was a falsity. That's all I was doing. I understood. So I did the job. I completed my assignment. I didn't mean for you to make a religion out of me. I meant for you to embrace your identity as I did and walk in that. To love one another, to understand the brotherhood of man, the fatherhood of God. That's all. I'm going to stop right there. Happy Easter to you, Heidi. Happy Easter to you. And to everyone from the OK Blues. This is going to get gooder and gooder, man. We're headed down the home stretch. We're on lesson 317 and we're headed to 365. So that's so much more. And when we get to the end of me telling you of how pure and whole and complete you are and blessed you are, that's only going to be the beginning. Only going to be the beginning, because there's nowhere in the world anyone can use words to describe what is infinite, and you are infinite. So words that are finite, they cannot describe you. They can only point you to the way. And so that's what we're here as a pointing to your pure holy presence, that you are a part of that which is the universal mind, the universal energy, the universal intelligence. You are one with that. And words can't adequately describe that. But if you will embrace your reality, you will walk yourself right out of the jail that the world tried to imprison you with. You'll walk right outside of the jail that religion tried to imprison you with, to control you. You are free, and who the Son sets free is free indeed. That means we owe man nothing. Owe man nothing but what? But love. We owe God nothing but love. Have a great, great day. And I'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow is what they call Good Friday. They call it Good Friday? Yeah, Good Friday. So I don't know. Lesson 318. It must be a good lesson. It's going to be a good lesson on Good Friday. So come back. I'll be back on tomorrow. Love you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.